Shredmaster Scott, and this video is about guitar recording secrets. We'll talk about recording, mixing, effects, and even a little bit of mastering. So grab some tits. I mean a guitar, and let's get to it. Consider subscribing if you want more content like this. Alright, so first up, let's have a look at the signal flow I'm using. Using my Ibanez Universe here, and that's going directly into my Axe effects. And this is an effects processor and a preamp. From there, it travels via USB into my MacBook Pro. So it's a direct recording solution, pretty simple. So let's have a look at what's going on in this project file here. I'm using Logic Pro X to record everything, but there's lots of different DAWs or digital audio workstations you could use. GarageBand, Pro Tools, etc. So let's start with the rhythm guitar track. I've got two rhythm guitar tracks. The first one sounds like this. Then I panned that hard right, as you can see here. The key with guitar recording is to double the track and pan the next one hard left, or in the opposite stereo field. And so the next one sounds like this. Same thing, just panned hard left. That really fills out the sound and gives you this wide stereo image, a lot of depth. That's what she said. Okay, moving on, we've got a lead guitar part. Let's hear how that sounds. Cool beans, and that one is panned right up the center. The stereo field is nice and wide and fat. We got guitars on either side and then one up the middle. I've got one last thing here for texture. Little dings happening just to fill out the sound. And of course, we can't forget the MIDI program. If you're a one-man band like me, you don't have a drummer or a bass player or whatever, so you just program that shit. Amazing. So let's have a look at the prog rock bass here. Score everything in the score window so I can see the notes. And there you go, that's what's happening there. It takes a while to get used to programming, but it's worth it these days, especially if you want to sketch out an idea. Also, I forgot to mention, for the guitar sounds, I'm using, like I said, the Axe FX 2. We're using a Mark II C+ emulator, which is a Mesa Boogie amplifier from the 1980s, popularized by, of course, John Petrucci from Dream Theater. Okay, back to Logic and programming the MIDI. I've also got the drums programmed here. And these drums are courtesy of Easy Drummer. You can see the interface right here. I'm using like the metal preset here, but there's a lot of different presets you can use. All right, let's talk about mixing and effects. Mixing is basically giving each instrument a space in the stereo field. So I already talked a little bit about this in terms of the panning and whatnot. That's a great way to give everything space. EQ is another one. So on rhythm guitar track number 1, I've got a little bit of high frequencies boosted here up top, and then down below, this is a common thing to do, just cut the sludge, those low frequencies that are coming through below, like, you know, I'm cutting it off around below 100K. So we don't really hear those frequencies when they get that low anyways. So they just take up space in your mix, and it keeps you from being able to maximize loudness. I'm also adding some compression here. See, I keep my compression pretty light, under 5 dBs. And of course, you can't forget adding some effects. I've got some chroma reverb concert hall, which sounds really bitchin'. I also have some TC Electronic modeled stereo delay. effects are like seasoning when you're cooking. You know, it's like it's to taste. You have to decide for yourself what you like. And finally, let's talk about mastering a little bit. Mastering is basically loudness, EQ, and just giving the track some overall punchiness. You can do some stereo imaging stuff as well. One of the best mastering tools at your disposal is the limiter, and you've always got to set your limiter to negative 0.1 dBs. And what a limiter does is just keeps peak frequencies from causing distortion. So you chop them off right at the neck and whoosh, decapitation. When you compress something, you're not actually cutting off the frequencies that go over the threshold. Limiting, it's an absolute hard stop. The next most important tool I use for mastering is the multipressor. The multipressor allows you to compress each frequency band. And I'm not going to go into depth on this because it's kind of complicated, but basically it makes things much louder, much punchier, and it gives you more control over your compression. So here's the track without the multipressor on. Now here it is with the multipressor on. A lot more balls. Off. On. It may be hard to hear that through the camera, but makes a big difference. I've also got some stereo spread on here, which I'll show you the difference between that. That's off, on. Gives everything a wider stereo image, a wider dick image.